the person this gentleman is referring to. I don't think we needed to hear any of that at all. We heard it last month too. Because he commented on attendance, I'll say one more thing and that's it. We can all count up when people attended and how many meetings, and I will just comment, quite apart from, as I mentioned to you when I saw you in the street the other day, you deserve the gold star because you're here at practically every meeting, at least 10 in the past year. Mr. and Mrs. Millen, over the past year, had attended no more than the councillor that gentleman referred to. We can all count it up.
Okay.
I don't think it's appropriate for people to turn up to the meeting and have a personal attack. We all know who he's talking about. It's not fair.
Okay.
It's not appropriate, and you've told him the right way to deal with it.
Excuse me, I was personally attacked.
Okay.
I was personally attacked
Okay.
by a councillor on social media.
Well, then you
and called-
Can we just draw a line under it, please?
Give it a miss, because
Order.
it's the same old story every
Oh,
week.
shut
We
up.
have the same old story every
Can I
week.
just ask
If
you
want to
all,
speak, get up
You've
and
got some
speak.
sort of
can I just
fetish.
ask you all please to
I
quieten
think
down?
you're
It's a,
becoming a bit of a stalker.
it is a parish council meeting
It's getting on
where
my
we are
nerves
giving
now.
members of the public an opportunity to speak. All people have valid points to make. It's right that all
It's
councillors
not
should
very valid
listen
with him, though, 'cause
should
you have to tell him
listen
the time.
to all complaints.
Yeah.
Did anybody else have their hand up that they wanted to speak, to raise an issue within the parish?
Any other issue?
Any other issue at all? Yeah.
Yes, I assume that the comment you made to the lady here, that as you go down the agenda and we wish to contribute, you are prepared to listen to what...
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
applies to,
Mm.
as you go through the agenda,
Yeah.
we can raise our hand and...
Yeah, I mean, we will discuss it as a parish council. If you could, if it's a matter that you wish to contribute to or need clarification, you could put your hand up, and as and when I
Yeah,
will
that's
invite you to speak, if that's
That's
okay.
great, it just
Yeah.
saves double tracking on everything.
Yeah, yeah. Anybody else at all? Yeah.
Last month, I came along to talk about the speeding in the village.
Mm-hmm.
But it was quite an event last month, and so we didn't get a chance to say much.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the meeting, I think it was in the minutes, I'm not quite sure, it was mentioned that several villages had gone through a process to do with speeding,
Yeah.
and we were at the bottom of the list and nothing could be done. I was just wondering if there's anything that can tell me why, because I'd like to go forward and try and do something about speeding. We've only been in the village a year and our car's been walloped twice already from speeding vehicles.
I mean, there's two issues here. Steve, is there anything you can add from a policing point of view about speeding locally? I mean, Councillor Sharp is a member of the policing team in Driffield, so
Brilliant.
he might have a little bit of operational current knowledge of it.
Excellent.
Yeah, there is a protocol to go through by the parish council where we've got to apply for what, can you remember, they're called the Golden River, where there's two lines across the road.
Yeah.
There is a cost to that by the village, has to pay for that. That's up for 3 months, and then a lady called Leanne Davison, she will determine from that 3 months data whether there is an issue. And I know we've gone through the 20 mile an hour zone thing before. Just for reference, Humberside Police do not enforce 20 mile an hour zones.
Right.
We've
So-
had the speeding things across.
We've had the
various-
Golden Rivers, They're actually a camera now fixed to a light, a lamppost, like really kill them.
I don't know whether Councillor Owen's got anything to add from East Riding's point of view from Beverley.
Not really. There was a scheme put forward last year for a limited number of villages to have 20 mile an hour zones on a trial basis.
Yeah.
To qualify for that, it had to be really exceptional circumstances, not just a normal village scenario, either outside schools and bits and pieces. Those were allocated accordingly, and I forget how many, probably half of these villages out of 4 was it, out of maybe 100 villages in East Riding. So the advice at the time was, unless you have some really exceptional circumstances, not to put yourself forward. But you're also correct that the council will monitor, put the Golden Rivers down speeding, liaise with the site police. But all I can say is it's an issue in every
Like school park.
is speeding. And personally, the natural traffic naturally caused by parked cars, is safer than a lot of villages in East Riding.
What street were you referring to,
I'm in
sir?
Middle Street, right in the middle,
Yeah,
next to the chip shop.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate it is a channel that spins right down, but with both vehicles parked correctly on either side, you know, big lorries can get through. It's not that, it's the actual speed of the vehicles, first thing in the morning and late at
You've got a
night.
copy of the
And
minutes.
I've got a friend that's in there,
I have on
and,
my.
and
no,
they
it was
said
Jack.
that they
Must have left it
explained
on the
to
side.
me
It
how
don't matter.
speed limits in lots of villages and towns and
Yeah.
areas are governed by what happens.
yeah.
And it just made me think, have we got to wait till, I've seen 4 near misses so far, 2 old ladies and 3 kids. Little kid just come out, popped out between 2 cars, and a 4x4 and a trailer was doing 50 up the village, and it was breathtaking
Yeah.
to see it. And I just think, you know, I wish there was something that could be done.
Yeah, I
There's
think
also the fact that people drive up Middle Street on the pavement to avoid parked cars
Yeah.
and so on, which, of course, because you don't live there, you won't see. But it's common.
Have you heard of, you may have worked on, it's called Operation Snap. It's on the Huntside Police website, and it's where you can upload photographs, videos of any traffic offence, and believe me, it is acted on.
Really?
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Because
Yeah.
I had got one video
Yeah.
of about 5:45 in the morning of a 4x4 going down the high street, at least at 55, 60
Yeah, we
miles
can't,
an hour.
you can't obviously determine, because to determine speed, we need a
Yeah.
calibrated device. So it'll be like you've mentioned about driving up. So if
Yeah.
you've got Ring doorbell footage,
Okay,
it will
brilliant.
be
Thank you
acted
very
on.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
'Cause
And,
sorry,
I think there was an accident around Christmas time, wasn't there,
Yeah.
on the street that you're talking about. So I
Yeah.
think as councillors we are aware of it.
Yeah.
It's just trying to get a zone built in or some kind of police action is very difficult, and the council as well. And that's no criticism of either bodies. It's just a really difficult thing to get done.
Yeah.
But thank you for
No,
highlighting it.
no, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? If not, I'll close down the forum and we'll move on to normal business if we can, please. Item 4 is the minutes from the last meeting. Has everybody had them?
Yeah.
And are they a true reflection?
No.
Yeah.
The last bit. Can I have a look at yours, Heidi? It's just that, the very last.
Do you trust that I haven't manipulated
Hey.
it? I might have changed
Oh,
the
don't
information.
start, Heidi. There's no need for that.
Sorry, which bit, Councillor Tagg?
The last part where it says Susan.
Well, that's the end.
Yeah. Well.
That's the committee reports, village maintenance, meeting closed at 9 p.m.
Yeah, it was just last off.
Staffing, Councillor Tate's reported staff contracts,
I didn't.
training budget has been approved.
Yeah, it was something to do with the training. I thought it was last off. Maybe the last off of the first page. It was Councillor Tate, the reported that she would be undertaking training to support the parish clerk. Training budget had been approved in previous precepts, but not utilised to date. That was not said at all, and I've just been, before I came, I've just been through the recording. Your recording's not up yet.
I distinctly remember that we would have to do a conversation that we would have to increase the training budget because Anne's imminently going to retire and the new clerk that will come in we have to then pay to train up.
But that is for Sue Tate
So
to
then we
take
would have to
training,
put-
and it's not mentioned at all. I mean, the whole point of these audios.
Agreed at a previous meeting. Sorry, I thought it was agreed at a previous meeting, and that was just reiterating what had been agreed at a previous meeting.
But it's supposed to be
I
on what
wasn't
happened at that meeting.
Just 2
but
steps.
I wasn't at the meeting, so I can't say a recollection of that. But on my reading of these minutes, my interpretation of those minutes are that because there's a full stop after the sentence for regarding Councillor Tate, there's a full stop and then says training budget had been approved in previous precepts but not utilised today. That is speaking about the budget as general, nothing at all to specifics for Councillor Tate. So
Any other
that's
councillors
how
have a view
I
on that?
interpret that sentence.
None of that were mentioned, none of that on
I
training.
don't recall that it was for Sue. I remember Sue.
Can
I
we-
mean, just go back on the tape.
Can we highlight that then for some
Yeah,
investigation?
I mean, have you got a tape? Because it's not gone up. I had a look today.
Just look that it's not agreed by council.
Yeah.
And I've got mine, and I listened right way through it today, and nothing was mentioned about training or Sue Tate doing,
I think all we can
training
do, Yvonne,
to help
is
the clerk.
highlight it and investigate it then.
okay.
And you're happy with the rest of it,
Yeah.
apart from that anomaly at the bottom?
Yeah.
So I'll need a proposer and a seconder, please, apart from the issue that Councillor Tate's raised.
I propose that they are accurate.
So, proposed by Alex
Alex.
I'll second it.
and second by Phil. Thank you. So it's just that matter. So, matters arising.
Well,
So, matters arising, what have we got?
I think they are in the,
Log.
yeah.
I haven't got a copy of the log with me. Have you got one in there, or can I just have your?
The actual log will come after the precept.
Matters rising.
Thank you. So, ecology report is on matters arising, which is going to be discussed on point 9, which is the mere. So we have the ecology report now. I'll go into more detail with that. So, seats in the bus shelter. Have we had any update? That was down for Cathy Milan, but sadly she has resigned from the council. So, have we any more update on that? Seats in the bus shelter?
Does anyone want to take it on?
So Oliver's kindly.
Yeah.
So that's the bus shelter on Driffield Road, isn't it?
Yeah.
Across Keys, yeah. That's lovely. And phone box library. That was
That's-
Cathy Milan as
Can
well.
I just refer to Mr. Battens? I think that's the signs, isn't it, to go up at the
The
top?
only thing left to do is the signs across the top,
Yeah.
which Cathy was going to do, which now is probably in the wind.
Yeah.
Is it with the permission? Can I contact Cathy and
Yes, of course.
delegate Oliver perhaps?
Yeah.
Thank you, Oliver.
Just a thank Mr. Battens for that. I stand next to that telephone box 3 days a week on my way to commute to work, and obviously it's full of books and looks very good and is used by many people in the parish, as is the one on Station Road. So bleed cabinets, that was Sue was dealing with that. Have we got an update from that? No, she's not here tonight.
No.
I can give you a little bit, because I've been working with Sue on that, because if the opportunity arose for us to get bleed cabinets, then I was going to do some fundraising in the village to purchase those, to take off as much cost as we could off the parish council. Unfortunately, when I've been through various companies, the DFIB company that we bought our bleed kits from is just one small part. The main one is a company called Daniel Baird Foundation, which was a lady whose son was stabbed in Birmingham, and they started one, and they both advertised these DFIB, these bleed kit boxes with the punch codes and dial 999 on them.
Right.
But having contacted Yorkshire Ambulance Service, they do not recognise the bleed kit boxes. None of the national services do. And the main reason being is that they will not be responsible for anybody using a tourniquet
Right.
out of those boxes. Some of them have what they call a tourniquet, which you can use with a belt or whatever. Some of them have a regular tourniquet. But Yorkshire Ambulance will not be responsible for one of their people directing an untrained member of the public
To use one.
how to use a tourniquet. And they basically advise an unopened box, which I think we had maybe decided against because
Yeah.
we didn't know how long it would last before it was emptied.
Yeah, vandalised or went
Yeah,
painted, yeah.
so I mean, when Sue comes back then, obviously can have
Yeah.
another discussion.
I'll leave it on the action log.
Thank you for that update. I think that's about it on there, isn't it?
Yeah, that was the last one.
Yeah, thank you. So, Matt, so that's fine. So, to accounts then, Ellen, please.
World Ecology, was that the
Yeah.
World Ecology, that's paid because we had to pay it before the report was valid. IT equipment, which Nick, Heidi, have you still got that?
Yes, we
At the
just
moment,
need,
you'll pass it on when
we will, yeah.
you
To the new chairman.
yeah. Ross Holmes, lovely invoice, £267.35 for salting and general maintenance and cutting village grass. SLCC, this is the training, £144, and there are 2 of those. Driffing and Wolves Weekly, £75.60 for the clerk's vacancy. My salary, 2760 plus expenses.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, number 7 is the precept.
There are only a few,
No,
a few
fine.
items left too.
Oh, they're not
They're
on my
not.
list. Sorry. Yeah. So
Fewer.
we're still on 6. Sorry. Are we?
Sorry?
We're still on number 6, are we?
No, we're on precept.
We are on
so
precept,
there's
yeah.
still a few bits to fill in.
Yeah. So we've got requests for grants from Nafferton and Wansford newsletter. I see, Chris, you're here with us. Good evening.
First of all, sincere apologies for not getting the paperwork in as early as I should have done. Slap on the wrist for that, and I'll do better next time.
That's lovely. We've got that. Thank you.
The figures that were presented to Anne there are my own figures. I had a slight problem with the accountant who was doing it with me, but that has been fixed now, so he will be verifying those figures later on this week.
Yeah.
Apologies for the fact that the page doesn't line up quite as professionally, but I don't have the same skill on computers as some people.
It looks fine to me, Chris. Don't worry about that.
But I think the good news is that, as you can see by the proposal and the forecast, I believe that we are in a position to leave the sum requested to the same this year as it has been for last year. Even though we had an increase from the printers last year, and I have forecasted an increase for this next year as well. I believe we can sensibly accommodate that in the buffer that I hold. That money in the newsletter account is dead money, it doesn't earn anything, and there's pointless having excess money in there. So, looking at it, so long as I've got a 3-issue buffer for any circumstances, I'm happy with that. So, what I've requested is exactly the same amount as last year. I don't think that'll be the same next year, but that's another year.
And that's a sum of £600, yeah?
Yes, £600 per year.
Just to let members of the public that are sitting next to you, Chris obviously is the editor and distributor of the Nafferton and now Wansford.
Not
Sorry.
editor, there are 3 separate editors, I'm not one of them. I do proofread, I'm not an editor, sorry.
Sorry about that. But it's the newsletter for Nafferton and Wansford
And
that we get through our letterboxes.
Yep.
That obviously keeps everybody in touch with what's going on in the village. So, fellow councillors, how do we feel about matching what we did last year in terms of £600?
Could I ask what Wansford are paying in?
Wansford themselves don't pay anything. The other contributors are the FIFI's trustees. The request to cover Wansford came from them because as an ecclesiastical parish, the FIFI's trustees is Nafferton and Wansford, rather than the parish councils, which is Nafferton and Skirn and Wansford. So we don't cover Skirn at all, and the extra cost by producing them for Wansford is covered by FIFI's. So they pay more than the parish council. that was agreed when we took the Wansford on.
I think it's worth noting that the operating costs are about 1,370 and the request is for £600.
So it's less than 50%.
Yeah, 50%.
Because I'm going to cut into those, that money that we already have,
Yeah.
instead of it sitting there doing nothing.
Are we all happy with that, or does anybody
I
want
need
to?
a proposal.
Yeah.
More of us agreed with it last year anyway, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We talked
yeah.
through it all,
Yeah.
didn't we?
So a proposal was Nick and a seconder was Alex.
Yeah.
All in agreement, are we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Tom?
Yeah.
Yes, you nodded, yeah.
Yes, I did.
Don't worry, I wasn't
It
looking.
was very quiet.
Thank you, Chris, for that.
This one's in blue.
Yeah. Is there anybody from Nufferton in blue?
No.
Okay.
350.
So what did we have last year from them?
350.
350.
Yeah. It was 300 last year.
No, 350
Yeah,
last year.
350. Oh.
This financial
Yeah,
year, 350.
Yeah.
To read the top.
So again, 350 they're asking. Total cost, I think the project's 500 for our councillors. It's the project cost. Prices obviously are always going up, raw materials, etc. And that's to support Nufferton and Bloom. Any observations?
No, I don't think it's a thing, yeah.
I've only got good things to say about it.
Yeah.
Personally, Chair.
You get what you pay for, don't you?
Well, once it's all very nice and
Nice,
summer.
Yeah.
So do I have a proposer and a seconder for
For what, value?
for £500? My apologies. Sorry, no, 350. My apologies. £350 for Nufferton Bloom.
I'll second.
Who've proposed?
Signed.
Sam?
And again, members of the public, I'm sure you're aware, obviously Nufferton and Bloom do a lot of voluntary work within the village, making sure that the place
Everyone in favour? Yeah.
looks nice for spring and summer.
We have another application here from the Scouts. You've got it there. And that is for a, is it a village party or something to celebrate 25 years, is it, Margaret? Is it 25 or
45.
45? Oh, yeah.
Oh, you a scout?
So the Scouts, I think, still thriving within the village, and it's the 50th birthday party in June of this year. Project cost is £400, and they're asking us for 50% of it, which is the £200. Yeah. How do we feel about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
200.
Yeah. Have a
Steve?
proposer and a seconder then?
We all agreed.
Yeah.
Just, all in favour?
I said yes.
I'm going deaf and I can't see it, but I don't know what I'm checking either.
Which one have we got now? Right. So is that the precept?
No, we've got the audit.
Can I ask, is it too late for people to apply for the grants? I was approached by Techie T, and he said he'd sent in an email. Well, I told him to send in an email, and he said that he had to apply for a grant. You know, the who do the helping people with,
Yeah.
you know, well,
Yeah.
you know who he is, which, you know, he does do it for free for the village. So, didn't you get?
No.
So is it too late if I tell him
Yes,
to
because
apply?
we're setting the precept now.
Right.
But it's something that he could get on board with for the next 12 months, isn't it?
Yeah,
If he
but
applied for next
we
year.
still have that 2,000 excess,
There
don't
is
we?
a small grants fund.
Yeah, there's that 2,000 from last year and the small grants fund. You would
So
have
shall I
to-
tell him to write?
Sorry. Is it business?
Community interest. Community interest company.
No, he does go round and do free sessions.
I don't know what the criteria is because we can't give it to businesses.
Can't give it to business.
I don't know if he...
voluntary groups or something like that.
Sorry, somebody, yeah,
It's a charity.
sorry?
Techie Tea is a charity.
Is it? It's
Right.
not a money-making,
No, because he does go round and he seems to be very popular. I
If that's
think
the case
he's...
then, put in an application and we
Yeah.
can give it due consideration.
But I think, you know, he goes round and he's helping a lot of people, especially elderly people that don't know how to work the phones. Okay.
Council look at it, yeah. Yeah.
So
No
you
problem.
were explaining
The challenges that are in it with the
Yeah.
external auditor,
yeah,
it could be £7,000 per challenge, so that's 14,000.
yeah, and we need to just raise that and
Yeah.
make sure everybody's aware, yeah.
Yeah. Whether you're going to,
Excuse me.
whether you're going to
Just 2 seconds.
precept it all in 1 year or over 2 years.
Yeah.
How do you want to do that?
No, I was making aware, member of the public is wanting to say.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Buttons, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to put the kibosh on anything, but I know Techie Tea does take money.
Mm-hmm.
So whether that classes as a business,
Sorry,
Yeah.
does he actually charge or does he ask for a
yes, he charges.
contribution?
Yeah, he charges.
I mean, you can put an application in and
Yeah.
we'll deal with it on its
I
merits.
mean,
and-
he's helped me.
Yeah,
So I know he takes donations when he goes to the village hall,
yeah.
but when he comes to people's homes, then he does.
That's not what he was wanting the money for. It was to do the free sessions.
We can't discuss it until...
If he can put one forward with the
Yeah.
information on, then we can
I
look
mean,
at it.
charities can charge because the rectal charges for various
Well, we'll look at it on
things.
its merits, can't we?
But I know he's wanting to, he's having problems with Natherton, and it is for the free sessions.
So
We'll look at it.
the next thing we've got is obviously there's 2 challenges that we've got in terms of precept, and those challenges I think have been financially estimated at £7,000 per challenge legally that we would have to pay. I don't know what fellow councillors' views are about that and whether we are going to set, because obviously it comes out of the precept. How do we feel about what we should do?
Do you want to precept it all in 1 year
Or do we...
or over 2 years?
I think
Heidi?
you had your hand up.
I did. As it's an amount that we don't know how big it's going to be until it's run its course, I think that it would be wrong of us to try and put in a whole amount in 1 year. I think as well, because it's a considerable amount of money, it would have a really big impact on the precept, and so that the knock-on effect of the charge per resident, per household, I think would be too much and not fair again. But well, I suppose the whole thing's not fair. So I would suggest that we should try and split it out, so that we're covering it a little bit further.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Did you have a point to mention on?
My thought was the polar opposite.
Oh really?
And I think that should we fund it from any reserve, that if things like this were to happen again and we spread it over a few years, we may not have the funding to be able to pay it. So my consideration was only to that of, do we put it in so that it can then be paid? Because this is also an estimate.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
And I get that it's from the lady that's running it and investigating it has told us that it's £7,000.
It could be.
It could be £7,000 per challenge. I think it would be incorrect not to plan for all that and think that if we was to take it away from finances and if anything else came in, we would find ourselves financially vulnerable.
Okay.
Potentially. Depends on the reserves and all of that sort of thing.
So we've heard 2 different
I agree
views.
with Alex.
Sorry?
I agree with Alex.
Thank you.
What's the
Hey?
size of these reserves?
Yeah.
What's the size of the reserves again? It's
I can't miss a reserve.
any other views while Anne's accessing that information?
No, if she's got
Thank you,
Sorry.
or-
I think from what, unfortunately, I was talking as well, but I think from what Alex said, I agree with you. My concern is if it goes higher than the 7 each, and we plan to split it over 2 years, then next year is going to be even worse.
Yeah.
I think if we get it all over and done with, and at least if it does overrun and it becomes a very large amount, at least we've got next year to worry about the remainder, and I would worry about eroding our nest egg.
Just 2 seconds, Mike. Mrs. Rowley, you had your hand up.
What are you actually talking about?
I'll explain to. So I was going to explain at the end of the debate. We have 2 legal challenges against the council, which need to be investigated and are being dealt with by legal teams. And obviously, there's a costation to that. So the estimate cost that I think we've had per claim is £7,000, and that's a rough estimate. Now we'd have to find that out of parish council funds. So we're talking about whether we pay up front now, we stage it over different, but obviously the precept that we set for each dwelling within the village has to reflect what expenditure is. So we're mindful that we don't want to put any extra costs onto each and every household. That's the issue.
Suing the council.
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
No,
Well,
Not
potentially.
no, it is there's an audit taking place, and the cost of that audit, we have been told, and it has been requested to take place, and rightfully so. This is something that can be requested, but the cost of that from the lady, the official company body that does it, is they have told us it could be £7,000 per challenge.
Yeah, per challenge.
And there are 2 challenges. So the debate is ultimately this will go on the parish council tax request. Do we do that in one go, or do we spread it over a few years?
Sorry, Councillor.
Could I ask just with relation to thinking through what I said, was would is there the possibility of working out what it would look like if we were, how much would it be per person on the precept if we were to try and cover the 14,000 rather than that? Is it? I'm just, because that's
We'd
the
probably have to
bottom
go
line
to
for
East
me.
Riding to get some figures, wouldn't we?
No, if you
I'm just thinking
can
because
give
of
me a
the
moment with it. If you can set the clerk's salary, but just move on from that for the
Okay.
moment and go on to train. We need to set training and the clerk's salary, don't we?
Well, we can do training now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Have you considered that we haven't got Caroline's wages on there that we usually have? So that's quite a lot of saving. I can't remember how much it was.
It's about £400 or £500, isn't it?
It's about 500-600 a month.
Yeah.
So it was about 6,000-7,000.
Yeah.
We haven't set.
So that might cover one of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm saying that's normally on, and we saved that last year as well. So, you know, there's 20,000 there saved.
Potentially. Yeah.
If we just set the clerk's salary and the training, and then if I get a chance, I'll try and work it out, what the difference of what it would be per household.
Okay.
But you'll just have to bear with me with it.
Yeah.
Can we do the salary while you're here?
We
Yeah,
can-
because
Yeah, 'cause
it's
you
not
won't be
until-
here.
It's not for me.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, fair enough. I forgot, sorry.
So, where's the training one? Yeah. Yeah, so training, we have got approximately £500 unused.
Which we use 250.
Yeah, so 250 which used, so 250's left then. What do we propose? Any proposals that we use it on, or do we leave it in funds?
Well,
With any additional training that's needed?
we're going to have new clerk, new chair.
Yeah.
That clerk has got to have training from Ernlicher. Ernlicher is expensive. And we have got to comply, and that clerk has got to be able to comply from the Australia way.
Yep.
So there'll be the handover, well, there won't be a handover period, will there?
No.
And we ain't going to get somebody who's been a parish clerk somewhere else. They're going to be starting from whatever base somewhere.
Well, I think the shortlisting hasn't taken place yet. I think it closed yesterday.
Today.
Today.
So we don't know what we don't know yet. Sorry, we don't know what we've got yet. We might some walk in and just do it. We don't know. But today we've got to say what money are we requesting from our members of the public to put together for that training.
My suggestion
Yeah.
on seeing figures on training would be at least £1,000
Yeah,
for this next financial year.
liquor is not cheap.
No,
What about adding £1,000 for the 250 we've already got to make it 1250 to give ourselves a bit of flexibility? Because it's always going to go up, isn't it? What does anybody else have a view? We've got 250 left of the 500 we had. We've already heard from Anne what it's likely to cost. Alex has given some detail about it from him when he previously chaired. What do we think as a group?
Well, that money needs to be there to pay for it.
Absolutely,
Simple.
yeah.
We can't do anything other
No,
than pay for it.
no.
so what's your proposal, Phil?
1,250. Keep 250 and go for another 1,000.
Making 1250 altogether.
Yeah.
Was that a second, Nick?
Yeah.
You nodded.
Yeah, I was one.
And that gives whoever the incumbent
Yeah,
interviewee who gets the job can have the correct training. Yeah.
Just don't know that.
So normally at this stage every year we set the clerk's salary, which is a bit governed by local government pay, etc. We would normally do it with the clerk going out of the room, but Anne obviously is retiring, so you can stay this time. Anne.
Thank you very much.
So
Be surprised them all.
So 2024-25 that we're in just at the moment is £14 an hour. From April for the next year, it's a minimum of 20 hours. It's £14.60. You're doing some sums here.
I'm doing some sums, 20 hours a week.
Yeah, 16 at £14.60.
Is that 47 weeks a year with holidays?
Yeah, would it be 47? It will be, wouldn't it? Yeah, 47 years.
£13,724.
£13,000.
£724. The only way we can bring that down is less hours, and the way we can do less hours is
Sorry, 13,000.
£724. That's on 20 hours a week at £14.60. Now, my only concern would be if we've got a new clerk who hasn't got the 25 years experience that Anne next door to me's got. I think cutting down on hours could be detrimental to performance.
in fact,
You'll use more than 20, only 20 hours.
we are taking into account experience here. What takes Anne 30 minutes to do may take somebody else 2 hours.
Yeah.
So
Is the hourly rate fixed? Because that's above the...
Yeah, I think it is, yes.
Yes,
Right.
yeah. It's on the SLCC guidelines.
That's fine.
And I think it'll be the same for all parish councils.
Yeah.
as well.
No,
All
it's
the same
It's
size.
agreed by Nafferton Parish Council.
Yeah.
Hi.
It's lower.
The other
Yeah.
question is, because there's going to be a considerable amount of training for the new parish clerk, would we pay for the hours that they're using for...
That is
For the
normally in
training.
the contract.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking that at the start we're going to still need the parish clerk to do the parish clerk work, and they're going to be training at the same time, so it could even be that it's like we're paying double for a period of time because it's going to take them time to do both. So this first year we're going to...
Could we pay that out of a separate fund, or do we need to set aside that money now?
Can I say something?
Mm.
Some of the hours, are they not to, Susan had said for the rec club,
Yes.
some of the hours are for the rec club, so that should go off of that.
Yeah. I was going on to say that, Councillor Tagg, when the amount was agreed, at the last recreation club meeting, they agreed not to ask for any money from the precept of the recreation club, and the clerk's salary, a third would be paid by the recreation club and 2/3 by the parish council.
So that'd be 2/3 of 13.7 then.
Yeah,
So that might give us enough flexibility, particularly in the first few months with training, to fund it from that figure.
we've got to precept for the full amount, and then I would
we can dig it out from there.
deduct
Oh,
it
right, yeah.
a third from.
So it depends how many hours I think the new clerk will need to do. At 30 hours a week, if I'm doing 20 and it's an extra third,
Yeah.
including training costs
Yeah.
and time of, we will have a knowing period of known incompetence where we know they're not going to be up to speed and we've got to support them. 30 hours a week, 47 hours a week on average is £20,445.
£20,445,
which a third of which will be brought back in from the rec club.
So it'd be about roughly the same figures we've worked out originally until you subtracted the rec club, because it was 13,700 before, wasn't it?
Yeah.
6,800.
Yeah.
Will come in for. We've got to ask for it.
Yeah, we're going to
Yeah.
ask for it.
Yeah.
Sorry, will you write those figures down and then I'll work it out?
Yeah. Alex can, yeah. I'll put them down
Sorry.
here as well. You
Yeah,
need them,
but if
you
he
can
puts
reach
them
it
in
and
those
check them out.
columns.
Right. So what do you want? Just a total.
Yeah.
All right. So at
Total on 30 to start with because of the training. So how do we all feel about that then? New clerk will have a limited probably knowledge of council workings, will need the training that which you've already agreed for. Training comes not only with a cost to the council of the tutorship and learning, but it's also the cost of the individual we employ, the parish, to be paid to do that training as well. That's the bolt-on for that training.
Have you had some applicants?
Yeah, I think we've, how many have we?
11.
11.
11.
It's good uptake, isn't it? Yeah.
I think without question, if Anne, having been doing this specific job for as long as she has, is spending 20 hours a week on it,
Yeah.
someone new isn't going to be able to do that in 20
No.
hours a week.
No.
And with the training, he's definitely going to be swallowing more time.
Yeah.
But I do think that with the third from the rec club, bearing in mind that's across the entire year, not
Yes.
just across the training period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the payback should balance it as long as we get someone capable enough to get
Yeah.
to the 20 hours a week,
I don't.
which might take a while, it might take 6 months. But I think it should, I think if we're going to pull money out of funds for anything, I think that would be something that might be more bearable than certain other things.
Okay. Figures are there.
Thank you.
So, sorry, Anne, you read those figures out if you can for those.
So we are, I'm just talking now,
Yeah.
the amount to go into the preset for the clerk's salary would be 20,000, well she wasn't retiring, 445.
But that's inflated because of the training
I know,
that
sure.
individual has to. I'm just explaining for the public. Yeah. Yeah.
So then I will take, I need to take a third out,
Yes.
which is the third,
sorry, I didn't write it in, did I? So what was it again? Sorry, 2445, wasn't it? From
yeah, then
Yeah.
I need to take a
Divided by
third out.
3, so 6815 is the third.
6815 is a 6,815 is a third annually.
815 rec
Yeah.
out of the total.
Correct.
So now we've got to decide. Sorry, can I have a proposer and a seconder for?
Another question.
Yeah.
Are we starting this person on a 20-hour contract? Or are we proposing a 30-hour contract?
Well, good point. I think the contract's got to be 20, hasn't it?
Well, I was going to say I think it needs to be a 20-hour contract.
But obviously, in training, when coming to
I
post.
appreciate that. It's just my concern was that we were going to start somebody on a long contract.
No, no,
She's
no.
never going to be able to cut their hours.
No.
So it's
Good
just,
point.
Yeah.
Well, then,
Sorry, yeah. I was just going to say as well, is there any support that can be given to help them get up to speed a lot quicker? You know, because like I said, Anne's been doing this 25 years. It's sort of like support from the council to sort of help this new person.
Sorry, somebody's got their hand up as well. Sorry, Nick.
Yeah, no, sorry, I finished.
Did somebody know? No. I don't know, Councillor Owen, is there any support from the Centre for new clerks?
Directly, I would think. It's
No.
more so
No.
It's Ernica, yeah. Yeah, it's most of it's online. But of course, Ernica are out over in Barton, yeah. So there is that travelling from Nafford, the local area, I should say.
I'm just thinking on Nick's point there, it's a really good point of what hours in the contract, because if we set it at 20, we are paying 20. And it's fair to say Annie is only doing 20 because there's been lots of demand that was excess on normal operations. So we would, in a normal year, without that, expect it to be much less. I mean, I think it was only a few years ago, it was down to 12, 14.
Yeah, yeah.
So if we benchmark it at 20, we are going to be paying 20. It might be a swear word, but if we had a 0 hour, we could then be responsive to what those needs are, couldn't we?
It's very difficult.
As chair, personal view, I wouldn't advocate we go down 0.
Well, just a thought.
The other problem with 0 hours is, you're asking to do something that you don't want to do it, you just say, no, 0 hours, I ain't working this week.
Could we look at maybe a 15-hour contract with overtime as required?
Well, what hours?
Because we're going to need overtime now anyway.
It was advertised as 20 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Oh, we've got to do it. We've advertised it at 20.
if it's advertised at 20,
So do we have you had a proposal and a second round for the?
No, I haven't.
Sorry, just one more point as well.
Yeah.
Are we going to be providing equipment for this new clerk as well?
Yes.
We're going to be needing
IT equipment.
some new equipment, aren't we, as well?
Because everything's mine.
Yeah.
Is that something we can defer to February's?
Well, yeah, just to be aware.
It's a good point to,
Yeah.
to raise it. Yeah.
There is reserve money that could be
Yeah.
pulled in for.
Yeah.
Because it'd be less than 1,000, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So there is reserve money that
Okay.
if the incoming clerk didn't have the.
So I need a proposer and a seconder, please, for that course of action.
Heidi. Second please. Oliver.
And are you all in agreement with that? Yeah?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now I just need to go back to this audit fee.
Yeah.
There are 900 and, have you got your pen and paper on it? So 929 properties.
Oh, not that quick. 929
Properties, yeah. And you're talking about 7,000 or 14 to find out what the difference is.
Oh, sorry.
Well, obviously if you put 14 in and a half, that will give you the, what each household will be paying. I can't do it and concentrate on what I'm doing.
Is it something that we'll come back to at the end of the meeting so we can progress, or would you want to get that resolved now?
Let's get it resolved.
Okay.
Because we get tired.
Mm-hmm.
No pressure, but everyone's waiting for my maths.
So everything else has been filled in, hasn't it? No.
Yes, it has, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you got it filled in?
15 quid. Am I doing that right?
We're straight on to the mere next, aren't we, after this?
150 or 50?
Actually, I'll be
It's
done.
15.
So we're on the mere after this, that's all, because I know people will obviously want to.
Excuse me, while the mathematician's on his way, these challenges on the audit, where did they come from? Is it from a member of the public? Is it from somebody on council? Or
We can't disclose that, I'm afraid. But there have obviously been complaints, challenges, whatever way you want to. I mean, we're not in a position, individual or collectively, to be able to defend them. So if somebody professional has to do it. Sorry, somebody had your hand up behind you.
Sorry, what's the challenges then? What do you have challenges?
Alex?
The accuracy of the accounts.
Yes.
And various other items.
Yeah.
It would equate, £14,000 would equate to £15 per household.
£15 per household.
For this financial year.
So
That's £14.
That's 14,000, £15 per household.
Yeah.
Per year?
This year.
This year.
No, per year, not per month.
Yes, per year.
Just to answer your question, madam, at the back, obviously, like everybody else, our financial audits are done in accordance with the protocols that are set down by local government. They're audited, externally audited, and then they're filed. But obviously, there's been challenges which have to be professionally investigated.
So
So,
anybody can challenge.
sorry?
Can anyone challenge?
Yeah. So again, we're bound by legislation that we have to comply. So that would be an additional cost of £15
£15 a year.
per annum per dwelling.
Yes.
Okay. Any more thoughts on that, fellow councillors?
A month, sorry.
Yeah. Any further thought about that?
I've got one other horrible request then.
Yeah.
How much does that, I suppose we won't know how that would affect the overall amount. Because if the overall amount hasn't moved that much, then I don't think that's a problem. But if it's gone up by £100 a month, £100 a year already, then I think adding another £15 on is quite a...
We can do ours as Nafton Parish Council,
Yeah.
and we can say what our local Nafton Parish Council demand will be as a percentage of the East Riding council tax. I know East Riding have now proposed a balanced budget, but we don't know what that's going to mean until it's being approved by Cabinet. So overall we won't know, but we can say that as a local authority, as a village entity, we will put this as part of your parish council demand. Everything else has to go on top of that.
So this matter has to be decided tonight.
Yes.
How are we going to address it? We've heard a number of options. We need really to get to some kind of action now. Do we put it all on one bill? Do we spread it across 2 years? Do we use our reserves? What do we do?
We're looking at 62.5 pence over 2 years per month.
Yep.
Or £1.25 per month over one per household.
Honey?
As I was the one that threw the spanner in the works at the beginning, it's helped me during the process of looking through the numbers, because it's the bottom line. I mean, we can these big numbers that we say this is a preset for everything for a year doesn't mean anything. The thing that actually means is that number that is on the council tax bill that comes through.
Phil, you want to hand
I just think we ought to go for it.
Can I speak?
Get it our way in a year, and then next year, if everything's hunky-dory again, we can go back and drop it.
Okay. Sorry, Hon, yeah.
So we're talking about putting the 14,000 on.
Yes.
Well, we've saved 12,000 that we haven't got Caroline's wages on.
But we didn't put that in last year, Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, so we saved it last year and we've saved it we're saving it this year. And then how much was that going to come back off the clerk's wages?
2,730.
Right, so that's another 2,730. And how much is going to come back off the insurance?
Was it 6815 from the rec? Sorry, in total from the rec, coming back from the rec, Councillor Tagg, 6815-2730. 9545 will be coming back.
So
and these figures will be double checked when I get home, please. Because I'm all of a. These will be double checked when I get back home.
Okay.
So how much was that from the rec club?
9545.
900.
No, 9,545.
Right. Well,
but
then
I will confirm this when I
we're
get
not
home.
going to be any.
We're
not going to be any worse off, are we?
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Are we, Alex?
£5,000 or so.
5?
Yeah.
You're putting 14 on.
But that's history, isn't that?
No. Caroline's wages we're saving. That's usually on.
Well, we're not, because they weren't here last year.
Yeah, but it's still.
It's not savings,
Yeah, but
it's not there.
the precept last year was a heck of a lot less because of Caroline's wages. So the village saved last year. And if Caroline's wages was going to go on, and then 9,000 back there, it all adds up. In fact, the village is in profit.
Heidi, yeah.
Chair, I would like to put to you that not every councillor on this council has a history of business and understanding accounts and how that works out. And I believe that it's quite inaccurate to try and do on the back of a fag packet calculations of we've saved this amount of money. It's an awful lot more complex than that, and stating that because of A, B and C hasn't been paid out because we're getting D, E and F back is not a calculation that is accurate, and I don't think...
So you're saying what I've said is not accurate? It is accurate.
Okay, just...
Can we just, sorry, can we go back to this audit fee? Are we putting 7,000 in or 14,000 in or nothing?
That is the choice.
All of it.
That is the choice.
Yeah.
We put it all in and then can we draw some off the reserve if we need it? Because what if it goes over?
Yes, we would borrow from the reserve,
Yeah.
but it would go into the precept next year.
That's it, put it all in. I'm done.
Get it over with.
I'm done.
Okay, so the choice is, then, what you're telling me is, it's all or half,
Yeah.
yeah?
All of it.
Yeah, so those in favour of all, put your hands up. So it's all, okay,
Proposal for that one, please. Bill,
a second,
all in favour, well, obviously,
thank you. Okay.
Can you just sign that, and then I will work it out, and every councillor will see what it is. It has to be in on Friday.
Yeah, I'll just take this mic. Members of the public, thank you for your patience doing that. I appreciate it was probably quite an arduous thing, but it was something that's vital for us to discuss. So I do apologise, but we have to debate it. Many of you will be waiting for the next one, which is the MEA, and a couple of you already touched on it. Obviously, we're having an ecology report. I also have a letter to read out from a councillor who can't make it this evening, who's been the councillor that's been allocated democratically to source this ecology report for the MEA, and it's from Councillor Sue Tate. She's asked me to read it out so that everybody's aware, including colleagues. Apologies for not being able to attend the January meeting. If you could read this out, please, especially as the meeting where the ecology report will be discussed, and I'll discuss that with colleagues and yourselves afterwards. As I was actioned to commission this by the Parish Council, it was unhelpful that Wold Ecology issued the report to Councillor Tagg directly and did not wait for the clerk to circulate the January papers to all councillors. So the PC received it at the same time. However, she would have received it in due course. She, I think they're referring to you, Yvonne, as all councillors are entitled to see it, as we are. The reason the report was not part of the December agenda was because it was still in draft form, and at this stage we could not share it until it was finalised, and more importantly for the ecology company, because we hadn't paid for it, we were not entitled to share it. Once we've paid for it, it's a bit like getting a surveyor or anything else. You can't have it and share it until you pay for it. We received the final version on Thursday, the 12th of December, which was 2 days after the last meeting of the Parish Council. It would have needed signing off by the 3rd and circulated for the December papers. Councillor Tagg was inadvertently also sent the email trail between the draft report, which was shared with the Chair and myself, before the final version was circulated. However, despite Councillor Tagg gleefully purporting to her self-serving blog that this provides some elaborate and long-planned conspiracy by members of the PC, it actually proves how minor few changes were between the versions and actually mitigates against Councillor Tagg accusing them, the Chair, and it's Cathy Milan, our former Chair, and myself of manipulating the report between versions. This would have no doubt been the next step otherwise to divert attention from the duck problem that needs addressing. The independent ecologist validates the long-held view by the majority of the Parish Council that we have excessive amounts of wildfowl on the mere, which is reducing water quality, suppressing vegetation growth, impacting populations of fish and invertebrates. The concern has been raised formally by a number of parishioners too over the years. He suggests, it was a gentleman that did the report obviously, a number of things to reduce the number, including stopping supplementary feeding by humans. The ecologist has also suggested in the initial draft that consideration should be given to the removal of trees from the island to help duck control numbers. The Parish Council asked a question on the draft as to what should be done with the wood if cut down. It should be left for habitat or removed completely. This is one question which obviously Councillor Tagg pounced upon, she says, on the email trail, and without context in the initial section, the ecologist report misled the public as to the reason of the question. Given at this point, on the 9th of December, the Parish Council had already received planning permission to remove the willow tree, along with the ecologist's draft report suggesting remove trees, it was perfectly acceptable and an unbiased question. The Parish Council has since received the villagers' petition about the island and the arborist report, and the new options have been proposed to see how we might maintain the trees which are being investigated. Irrespective of how the island is managed going forward, which is decided by a democratic process by the Parish Council, we cannot allow, this is Sue talking, not me, I'm just reading it out, Councillor Tagg's personal obsession with ducks to divert the agenda away from dealing with the main issue arising from the report, which is naturally, over time, to reduce the duck numbers, allow the mere diversity to thrive. Please, could this correspondence be included verbatim in the minutes, as Councillor Tagg has previously selected correspondence on social media. So I'm reading out that. It's not my report, it's from a fellow councillor who's done this. Now we have a report from World Ecology, and many of you will have had professional careers on the council, and I'm sure members of the public. With all these things, there's a methodology, there is a framework to work through, and in this particular one, the document says an introduction, there's a methodology of how the ecologist has approached their work and observed the uniqueness of the mere and its habitat. There's a general description that they've observed in their investigation, there's a method statement, there's a management prescription, which is basically my interpretation, others may have other, is the action plan that they would suggest we undertake. And then there's a location of mitigation features and a bibliography, I think it's called. So before I actually go to the crux of the matter, which is point 5, which is the management prescriptions, are there any questions from fellow councillors to start with on that? Report from Sue and my initial anything. Members of the public, have you got anything to comment? Yeah, Mrs. Harrison, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I think that everybody has sort of rather got lost in all this. Well, there's this and there's that, and the others talk about what we haven't actually asked you. What have you even asked yourself? What is it you want to do with the mere? In the first place, what is it you want to do with it? And why? Further to that, having seen the 2012 ecology report, nothing really seems to have been acted on that. What was the point of having another report if you didn't act on the previous one? That previous one looked very sensible to me, and the proposals looked a lot more affordable. Why get a report and then not bother acting on it anyway? But basically, what do you want to do with the mere, and why do you want to do it?
Well, from my point of view as a councillor, and I happen to be chairing today, obviously I've lived in this village on and off for nearly 40 years, and the mere is the centre of our village. It's a beautiful thing, and you know, whatever age group you are, and whether you live next door or whether you live in the village on the outskirts, we all appreciate its beauty. I think there's a number of things. We as a parish council are responsible for the management of the mere. I wasn't on the parish council in 2012, so I can't sort of comment on why that wasn't acted on immediately. All I can say is obviously there's been issues that have been raised by members of the public about duck feeding. There's obviously the issues about the trees that have obviously concerned a number of members of the public, and there has been, I think, a long, Simon, you might have more knowledge because you've been on the mere. There's been a constant sort of monitoring of the mere, hasn't there, of what we should do with it. I mean, you've lived in the village all your life. What's your view on it?
Well, just, I mean, it used to have fish in it.
Yeah.
It still does.
Still does.
I've seen them.
Corporate tax and
When,
everything.
Yeah.
when it was first dredged, I mean, it used to, the right-hand side of the island was all silted up and full of weeds. And we used to get all the other ducks, tufties and all sorts, used to come in winter to root, but there's nothing now. The mallards have driven everything off. And we used to have an old guy, had 4 geese on there for years. They weren't allowed to breed, and so the ducks have always been fed, but just the volume we've got coming now is like, well, it's like a duck show. Yes, all the farms and round here, if you go down Brownsburn and Leven, that's what they do. They feed corn to attract ducks to shoot them, and it's just a feed station, and then off they go. But yeah, I mean, the mere itself, I mean, the trees, we just need to sort the tree out because it obviously blocks the sluice. Nobody wants to chop a tree down. I mean, we can go to Thorpe Trees and buy a 20-foot replacement tree, which will be more disease resistant than the one we've got. But if the one we've got is savable, well, I'm all for saving it.
Yeah.
We can't have all the debris going down into the sluice because we have to retrieve it, and that's. But the island, to be honest, I don't know what the ecology reports. I've not read it all, but whatever the island is, I think it always needs a tree. It's just a focal point.
Okay.
But whether we replace the one we've got, or whether we let that one have another year, pollard it properly.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Simon. I think the reason why we didn't do anything is none of us were on the parish council at that time. So
It was a change.
it was a complete change of parish councillors. And there would have been a question asked, and it would have been correct to do so, is how accurate is that report 12 years later? Not one of us are professional experts on it, so we couldn't answer that. We have no idea. So it was to be able to have the best informed, independent decision, because we are not ecology experts. It was felt best to recommission a new one and to let us know, to tell us what do we need to do.
Yeah.
And that was the intent behind that one.
But that is just that opinion, and it differs from other opinions, as we can
Well,
all see.
it is a professional opinion, and it is the only opinions that we can rely on. Because otherwise, you're going to get my opinion, and I can tell you my opinion is not worth a thing on ecology, and my opinion has got significant weighting on other areas, but on this it is meaningless.
Yvonne, I'll bring you in a second. The gentleman in the middle behind Mrs Harrison had his hand up.
Yeah, according to the ecology report, information from the World Ecology Limited was provided by others. The competence of accuracy of this information is not guaranteed by World Ecology. So,
What's that about?
So, where did you get that from?
I gave him a...
Copy of your report.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's their business. Yeah,
But
that's
it
their
doesn't
business.
where's the information coming from?
Sorry?
That's from them. We have just paid for the report. We've not
Yeah,
had
but they
anything
said
to do with it.
they've got information from somebody else,
Well, they
word
would
of
have
mouth from somebody else, so who's giving
I
the
don't know. I
information?
would suggest that is a question to World Ecology.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, whether part of theirs is to speak to people, but, you know, you have to understand, we're a parish council of volunteers. We've all had professional jobs. We may be semi-retired, as I am. We all bring different skills to it. Ecology isn't one of them. And it's obviously a pressing matter that we recognise for all of the village. So we commissioned a local company who know Nafferton to do
Did they come out and
Yeah, have
do
they
Yeah.
come to assess the problem?
Sorry?
Have they come to assess the problem, or have they come to have a look at the trees?
Yeah, they've looked at the whole thing. I'll read it out in a minute, but I just wanted to, you patiently waited, I just wanted to bring your thoughts in, that was all.
Okay.
Sorry, sir, you're behind Mr Gowen, yeah.
Can I say, you mentioned there is a professional report. There is. The Department of the Environment have done a report on what they term Nafferton Beck from source to Driffield Canal, which is the pond, the mere, whatever you want to call it, as it wanders its way down to Wansford into the Driffield Canal. And a comprehensive report by the Department of Environment does exist. It includes things like flooding, how you deal with that, their suggestions. It includes water quality. It includes items on wildlife, including fish. So, professional reports do exist and are freely available from the Department of Environment.
But that's not specifically, sir, about Nafferton Mere, is it?
Yes, very specific.
Is it?
And the reason I searched this out, having attended the December meeting, we heard about the volume of water that went through the mere and the importance of sluice, etc. and a staggering number was mentioned, and I decided to research that because I wanted to compare it with, say, the beck that runs through Driffield. You know, what is the volume of water and how is it controlled? But the key point to what I'm saying at this is saying that there isn't professional reports. There are by the Department of Environment that are available that cover all these things. And I would have expected that World Ecology or any other person who would have chosen to select would reference this in their report.
Yeah, it may well be that, whether the phrase third party or other, it may well be that World Ecology have used that as a baseline. I don't know.
From what you were referring to earlier, it may well be.
I've not seen the World. I've asked Mrs. Tyler for it, who said it wasn't available for distribution to the public until after this meeting.
Yeah. And then we will supply it. Yeah.
And then it will be supplied.
Yeah, that's right.
After today.
Yeah, that's right.
So
I think if Councillor Tag wants
Yeah,
to come
no,
in
you're
there if I
okay.
can.
I'll just
Yeah.
carry on talking to that gentleman. Have you finished?
Well, can I just say?
No, carry on.
Yeah, one other thing, I think that we've had ecology reports, but surely we need a structural engineers report on the slopes that says how we control the water flow. Came to the December meeting.
Well, that may well be an issue that we need to address, but obviously at the moment we're talking about the ecology report that affects the whole Mere, which has been something of a constant discussion at Parish Council for probably 15-20 months. And now we've actually got a document that we want to discuss as a group, but more importantly as well for the public to listen to. So before I go on to it, Yvonne, did you want to?
Yeah, it was just, it says here, in producing this report, World Ecology Limited has relied upon information provided by others. The completeness or accuracy of this information is not guaranteed by World Ecology.
Yeah.
So basically, that report's not worth the paper it's written on.
Well, no, I interpret that slightly different, that they've obviously got. Now, whether it's what the gentleman's referring to at the back, whether they've got the local government or the national government document, which they can't validate.
Well, they were given the old report, wasn't
Or it might
they?
be old reports. We have to ask them. My interpretation doesn't mean it undermines the value of what they're saying. It's just that they can't validate the information that they've got, only the information they've gained from their assessment. I don't know what anybody else feels.
I agree. I think what we would, if we're going to go down that line, we would need to know what the impact of that third-party information was and what.
Well, who was that third-party information?
All we do not know. We was not the body that was doing the investigation or recommendations. That company was.
But when you say didn't act on the other one, they did act on that other report.
I don't know. You've got to go to World Ecology.
No, I'm on about the first report in 2012.
Right.
They did act on it.
Yeah, just 2 seconds. Heidi.
Can I suggest that this is immaterial? We're not discussing the ecology report, and the facts behind that it's taken away from us.
So I'm going to move on to what they describe in the report as management prescriptions. So basically, that is the course of action they are suggesting we should take to improve the ecology and management of the Mere. And I'll read it out in full because I think it's important. So it's section 5 of the report. It's called management prescriptions, and it's 5.1 is trees and trees removal, which I know some of you are very passionate about, and you've obviously. Consideration is the word, should be given to the removal of trees on the island on the centre of the pond. This will increase light penetration to the new areas of the marginal vegetation, will dissuade ducks from nesting and roosting on the island. Replacement trees of increased ecological value could be planted elsewhere on the site to compensate for the loss of these trees. Brash and timber from tree works could be placed around the margins of the island to discourage ducks from accessing it. Suitable timber and brash from tree felling may also help to stabilise or create reefs and planting areas for aquatic vegetation. Wildlife ponds is 5.2. The potential value of water bodies to breeding amphibians, breeding birds, invertebrates, plants and small mammals can be significant. Additionally, ponds add a huge aesthetic and educational value to the environment in which site visitors can enjoy. 5.2. Perhaps the single biggest issue with Nafferton Mere in its current state is the disturbance and damage caused by ducks. Wildfowl should be encouraged to the pond.
Should not.
Should not be encouraged to the pond as they create a large range of problems. Mallards, and he uses the Latin name, and I won't attempt to say that because I was never good at Latin. In particular, graze aquatic vegetation, trample banks, eat amphibian larvae, and defecate in the water. These factors increase nutrient input into the water, which eventually turns the water green. As a result, algae blooms. This blocks out light, reduces plant growth. The green water then results in the pond having a much reduced ecological value. Most ponds are capable of supporting nesting more hens or little grebes. These species do not exhibit the same problems as ducks and should be encouraged to stay through minimal disturbance to them. The next paragraph, as ducks are already established on the pond, it is important to stop feeding them and dissuade others from feeding them. This can be done through interpretation boards which detail the ambitions of the mere and the issues that large concentrated numbers of ducks can cause to the mere. Wildlife ponds should be specifically designed to include a series of buffers around the banks to inset pollutants and phosphates which may have a negative impact on the water quality. Excuse me. And species using the pond. This can be done through the creation of rough grass land and marginal vegetation, all of which offer a sufficient level of protection to the pond and should be maintained. In addition, reefs comprising of yellow flag should be considered near the inflow of the stream on the north of the mere. Yellow flag is an excellent, and I won't attempt to say it, but basically it purifies the water technique based on aquatic plants. This process occurs naturally in ponds thanks to aquatic plants and bacteria living symbiotically in their roots, and this will help filter the water. 5.2.6. Once the duck numbers are under control, the pond should be planted with a variety of pond plants. These ideally should use Hessian sacks, but if not, baskets can be used. The species of which will be listed below, and he's put marsh marigold, yellow Irish flag, brook thyme, water plantain, water forget-me-not, water mint, great spearwort, and other ones that are submerged. The aforementioned species have been selected for their value for aquatic, I can't pronounce that, an aquatic Calyptra, yeah. And development of various bumblebees and molluscs and various things. So the planting scheme for the pond, especially the stream, should be approved by a local authority, drainage board to ensure that the vegetation doesn't cause an issue with flooding. In addition, species choice should be beneficial to dragonflies and damselflies in the region of southern Hawker. Alternatively, new planting areas can be fenced off with 90 centimetre rabbit fencing. Due to the species selected, water chemistry and the abundance of wildflower, is unlikely that vegetation will become as invasive or at least short term. However, over time, vegetation should be maintained at 30 to 50% covering of the mere. Cutting and raking are a good way of managing vegetation, preferably during September to October. Removal of arising off-site is recommended. Arising should not be left to rot in adjacent water. And then there's a mention of birds, etc. So that is the crux of Wild Ecology's assessment. What comments have we got from parish councils to start with? Yeah, Yvonne?
So what he's basically saying is duck poo kills the mere. What about all the sewerage that's going in there?
Well, he doesn't mention anything about
No,
it.
because he's not been told.
No, he
I mean, I
wasn't.
don't understand where he says it's been filled by a stream. What stream?
No, he said for the road thing it should be filtered in
Yeah.
a series of reeves and stuff. Which
Yeah.
is why I looked at Phil and said that's going to be hard to do
Yeah.
with the volume of water that comes out of that. You know that chute on the right hand side?
Yeah, I know.
It's like a torrent, isn't it?
With water. Yeah.
But who's he spoken to? Because where they've got where they're going to put all the plants, that's the direct line
He has
of,
got planning.
eh?
There is a plan in there.
Yeah, I've seen it. But all on this side is the direct line of all the water that comes down the drain. It's just going to wash it all away. And that's what happened when they did the last plants. So what we're going to do, we're going to do the same and all the plants wash away. Instead of doing it properly, slowly, because the parish council paid for them, all them rocks that I had delivered and that they're still in that Priestgate corner, I got rescued what was left of the plants because they'd all floated down to the sluice, and I planted them in between the rocks, and they did all take. Now, I know Paul Milan went and ripped half of them up because he said they were evasive. And they'd all them reeds are what they were told to be put in to clean the water, and they were all growing. And I planted some at the back of the railings, you know where the horsewash is. I'd planted some at the back of there. And Paul Milan, at one meeting, I think I've got it on record, said to take them up. They were evasive, so I actually took them up myself, and I've got them at home.
That's fine, thank you. Heidi?
Can I just suggest that this tirade is not relevant to this ecology report that's talking about the past? This report is suggesting that this is what we
No,
should
it's
do.
the same. They're suggesting exactly the same as the past.
And councillors, any sort of comments on the report that I've read out, the methodology and...
I think, personally, I think that it's something that we should be definitely looking at. It would be nice to have an environment that's more than just one dominant species, basically. It would be nice to see some plant life, to see dragonflies and things like that looking around.
Heidi?
Correct. With the sort of like plan going forward, if we were taking any of these recommendations on to do, such as the planting, such as the other things, where would we get assistance with that? Is it something that we would be able to go back to them to say, well, yes, you've said do planting in this area, do that?
I'm not sure whether Sue's had any conversation about...
Sue would know.
Yeah, that maybe is a question for Sue. A gentleman there's got... the gentleman at the back, sorry, Mr. Holmes.
Yeah, if you move on to page 6 of the ecology report, there's a map which shows a white space in the middle where all the trees and vegetation have been removed. How is that going to help?
It's not public. Sorry, can I ask how we've got this report? 'Cause it's not supposed to be published until after
No, I
the
gave him
meeting.
it.
No, you shouldn't have given it to members
No, I
of the
know.
public.
Because
No, I
it
know.
wasn't.
It's not to be
On the
published.
It wasn't
Not to be
public.
published until after this meeting.
Yes.
Well, I gave him it, so knock me down for doing wrong, but I gave him it because they needed to see it, and that's it. And they've got it, so they know how to talk about it.
Shouldn't be discussed.
I'm afraid that there is a protocol for this kind of thing, and we are willing to share it, as I've said to the gentleman behind Mr. Owen. We will supply this document to somebody who's asked for it under freedom of information, but the process is we can't be sending out documents, and this shouldn't be leaked to members of the public.
It's a public document. They paid for it.
Look, yes, but it wasn't signed off at the time. You
I
can't-
didn't give it until I knew it was paid for. The disclaimer on the
You shouldn't
front.
be giving it to anybody.
Well, I have done. It's a public document.
Yeah, but on the email.
I mean, somebody's asked for the document of the mere to prove that you own the mere, and you haven't given him it.
Right.
I'm sorry,
You'll
you'll
have
have
to
to
because
look
it's not.
You cannot share documents
Well, I did.
without permission of the council.
Well, I did.
So the gentleman shouldn't have the document.
You cannot do a lot of things you do. So I did. There's nothing you can do about it. It's a
Gentlemen, you had
public
your hand up
document.
as well, yeah.
Yeah, can I just ask that you do refer to the Department of Environment report?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll have a look
Which
at
I
it, yeah.
believe is far more...
Have you a copy that you can give me? It's almost like a swap for this.
Yes.
after the meeting.
Thank you.
It's a copy.
Yeah.
You need to access the website.
Yeah, of course, but
to get
it gives us a
detail.
baseline
It tells
too.
you things
So,
like
yeah.
about phosphate, etc.
Yeah.
But you'll have to close it now. because
Okay.
it's been shared.
So any other councillors got any? Thank you.
I'll
Any,
give you this after the
anything
meeting.
else to say about it? Okay.
I just think we need to, it's obviously quite an in-depth report, we need some sort of actions from this to move forward. So I think to do it justice, that we spend some time digesting and think, right, what are we going to do with this?
Yeah, and I think the next meeting is going to be very important because Councillor Tate's going to be who's been with it. Just the lady at the back, who I don't think has spoken yet.
Can I just ask, is that your intentions to follow this ecology report with
Well-
taking the trees off the island then?
Well, that is the suggestion
Well,
that they
You're not
are.
happy about that then?
This,
Well, I've got a copy of the arborist report as well, Walker's arborist report. Now, he said that the sycamore, which is the one on the left, everybody's concentrating on the willow, which is important, but there's also the sycamore, which it was first said that they were going to take, they wanted to take two of the 3 trunks, which would have just left 1 trunk. Anyway, Walker has said that it doesn't need that, it only needs 15% of the tree, which I live opposite that tree, I look at it every day.
Sorry.
And looking at the tree, there's 2 lower branches that are causing drag probably, if anything did happen. So he's probably talking about that coming down.
I mean, if you share that information with us, with what we've already got, we've got some decisions to make at the next parish council meeting.
Yeah.
We're still, if you want, we're still investigating, we're still gathering evidence. We didn't have this document that I've spent quite an hour
I
taking.
understand that.
So,
Yeah.
and I think I pick up on what Simon had said 25 minutes ago, you know.
You've got the report.
We don't want to be cutting any trees down unless we have to, do we, Simon?
Well, also, they suggested pollard in the willow very heavily. But what about, why don't we just try and feed it? Because it's, that island, there's not much soil on there apparently.
The willow tree, if the willow tree is healthy, it will survive. It won't need any feed because that willow tree will be sucking the nutrients out under the mere.
Yeah, I know.
So as long as it's healthy,
Yeah.
I think
Well, it was
we pollard it, and when they pollard them, it is severe.
I know.
It'll look.
Well, that's what I'm worried about.
It'll look pretty
Might just
rough
go
for the
too
first
far.
year.
Is
But
there any way
if
you
it
should
survives
be
it,
Yeah.
it'll be the nicest tree going because it will go back to being a weed
Well, last
tree.
month's meeting, Richard came, you know, Richard the joiner,
Yeah.
he came and he suggested, he brought a quote from Boyd, you know, who lives on the mere, and he brought a quote to sort of show the island up.
Yeah.
which
I'll have to draw a
was
close
good
to it because
idea,
we've got 20. We only got 2 hours.
Right.
We've got another 6 matters to discuss. Thank you so much for your contributions, everybody. If we can move on, thank you for that. Number 10, flooding and drainage report, please.
I think we discussed at the last meeting about the forum, was it?
Yes, with Councillor Ivory.
Yeah, Mr. Owen, and we did the, it's just respected, in respect of the digging the drain holes out.
Yeah.
That was to be actioned, wasn't it?
Yeah, at the bottom of Nethergate, it was, Andrew Allison, who was the highways engineer, came to have a look, and we met together along the Ross.
Yeah.
There is a big, right in the centre of the junction, there's a great big culvert.
Yeah.
So they're going to go away, well, Andrew's going to try and find out what drainage is actually under there, because it might be something as simple as allowing that flow. You'd have to have a look at a capital request to resurface that whole junction to get the Canberra right flow away, which he will look at. But I would say at this stage the cost of that will be pretty prohibitive, actually, to recover. So that's where we are. He's going to come back, he's going to try and look at the whole drainage report, see what that big bit is in the middle, because nobody's really sure what
Something
that was.
doesn't report.
No, not yet.
No.
And also, in the meantime, he's going to dig out the grips down Nethergate, but that's secondary to that. So we're still waiting for the full report.
So things are moving on. Thank you for that.
Things
sir.
moving slowly,
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but it's all right going slowly, but the one on Nethergate near the footpath, near the Feffy field, that needs attention fairly quick because they were away and their garage flooded.
Yeah.
But the dike is higher than the grip holes in among them trees, so there's nowhere for water to go. That's the problem.
No.
And
I mentioned that to the highways guy about the dike that runs down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they have actually been and cut the trees back, haven't they?
So
last?
cut the trees, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, them there are suffering because their garage filled with water on the last downpour. But water's never going to run uphill.
No.
No. Other than that, generally it's not too bad.
Can that ditch on the Feffy's field, is that full or does it need?
It's not. It's opposite side of the road. It's the one on the opposite side of the road. In the trees on.
Oh, I'm with you.
Where the moat field is.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on flooding and drainage?
We've been quite lucky.
Right. So it's planning.
That was discussed at the December meeting, but it wasn't recorded, so I've had no observations.
Okay, there was a change of use for buildings for holiday let to residential, 9 Bridlington Road, Nufferton. Application Mr Stephen Steele. It's for mentioning. Any
No
observations now?
No, it was now confirmed.
And then we've got one, the old coach house. I'll have to discuss procuring that.
What
Somebody
can we
else
tell us then?
can, Alex can read it out. It's a neighbour of mine, that's all.
So this is for an application for Nafferton Conservation Area to fell 3 number white beam trees as they are becoming too large for their location, which are interfering with adjacent trees, and drop branches, berries and bird droppings. A crown lift 2 number cherry trees by 4 metres to improve the tree health and shape, and fell 1 acacia tree as it is in, for example, with deadwood, and has spiky branches that cause safety concerns. That is the location of the old coach house, 11 Parsonage Close, Nafferton, from Mr Ed Cole.
So there'll be no trees left.
More
That will
trees.
Especially on Parsons Close, I think we're chopping them over.
Is white beam sort of an indigenous tree, a native tree? I don't know. So I'm not coming
White
across that
beam,
one
do you
before.
know anything about it?
Sorry?
White birch.
White beam.
It says white beam, doesn't it?
Sorry.
Yeah. They want to plant all these houses.
I mean, there's no point going through the trees because if that willow tree, 15 people putting very good objections and they still give the planning permission.
So, is that
All
all?
right, thank you.
I think
That's granted.
the planning has been granted. Is this where the roadworks are today? Conversion of outbuildings to a dwelling, associated works, land north of Brendan Gates, Martman Lane.
No.
Okay, so that's been granted. Any access for our attention. There was some correspondence as well. On one, yeah. So Simon will know about this, and some of the parishioners will. So we've got confirmed case of avian influenza at Nufferton. You probably, if you've been walking around the village, seen the signs up on it. So it's just obviously there's a 3 kilometre protection zone around. Simon, anything more you want to say on that? No?
It's all finished, all cleaned up, all done. But yeah, it's just unfortunate.
Unfortunate that it's the second time that the same farmers had it.
Human error.
Yeah. And what we
Brought in by a tradesman.
They're all on the website.
Yeah.
And they've all been circulated.
So we've got a consultation of strengthening standards and conduct framework for local authorities, and that's on the website. And we've also got sustainable transport supplementary planning document as well, which we've all had. So that's the correspondence.
Committee reports,
So committee reports.
village hall.
There's a question. I believe it's within the Parish Council standing orders that all correspondence received from parishioners should be listed on the agenda and circulated to all parish councillors. Can you confirm that is the case?
That's at the discretion of the clerk and the chairman.
At the discretion of clerk and chairman. Does that say that in the standing orders?
I have no idea. Feffes,
I'm not sure, sir.
There was no meeting.
Don't know.
But generally we do put people's name on. Like for instance, if somebody, I can think of an act where somebody on New Road, talking about speed that the gentleman raised earlier, historically, like a couple of years ago, somebody wanted some speed boards or to do with on where the new petrol station is. and their name was listed. I think Alex, you would share
We've got to
them.
be careful of GDPR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's only so much we can give.
Yes, I've corresponded with the previous chair and it hasn't been put on correspondence.
That's at their discretion. If you request that it goes on the agenda, then it would go on the agenda. But we respect people's privacy in these things. And if it's thought that it doesn't go on the agenda, then the clerk
You have
the
to.
chairman says,
You have to assume that data has not consented to be shared.
Right, so in future, any correspondence that we, the members of the parishioners, have with the parish council, if we want that information to be shared by all the parish councillors and made available to other parishioners who read the agenda that you post, we have to ask for it to be
we would
included.
advise that you ask, yes.
Yeah.
We would advise that you ask.
So I think if you have any further correspondence with us, just highlight that.
Like Councillor Tate did, she said, could you please read this out verbatim in her email, so we have then obliged, if there's something of akin to that.
So Village Hall, we didn't have anything, did we?
No.
Feffy's, any meeting at all?
No, not yet.
Playground, what?
Bill.
No issues at the moment. I haven't had a chance to go later picking because I've got tied up with work again. So it could be a crap hole when I get a day off. So,
okay. Web, Nick?
Right, yeah, it's been quite a busy month actually on the web in the background. Microsoft finally renewed our grant, our credits for hosting the website. I was on the phone for about 3 hours to chat to sort that out, yeah. Yeah, I've upgraded the way the emails are sent as well by the website. So I'll back to that. So, yeah, apart from that, all running fine.
Thank you. And staffing, we're going to come on to that, are we on? Was that
Well, there's not.
All that our persons that we have worked on the worked on the job description and requirements for both members of staff, or 3 members of staff, but the main focus was for the clerk position, so that was available to share with prospective candidates. So that has been done.
and I think we've got 14 applicants, I think, Anne said, didn't she?
Is that 11?
11, sorry, my apologies. 11. Okay, so that's dealt with that. So, parish council vacancies now.
Resignations of the councillors, Miller.
Yeah, I think at the previous parish council meeting, obviously Cathy Milan and Paul Moran said their intentions to resign. They have been with the parish council a number of years, not just because I'm chairing today, but also as a fellow parish council. I'm saddened that they tendered their resignation. They've contributed a huge amount to Nafferton Village. Cathy's had from a professional knowledge, has a huge knowledge of charities and how to apply for government and local authority grants. And she's been a bit of a shining light and beacon for us on this parish council, because it's something that certainly I didn't know how to get various things. And certainly with Paul and Phil on the playground, which has been revamped in recent years for the children off Howe Lane, a lot of that was their doing and their hard work and money from central and local government, and I think that supported that to give our children and our grandchildren a safe place to play. So I thank them for that, and they've obviously supported the Warm Space or the Friendship Friday group and various events.
And they still intend to volunteer.
That's great. So it's with great sadness that obviously they've tendered their resignations. I don't know if fellow councillors whether you want to say anything briefly.
Well, I can second that. I mean, Captain's knowledge of where to get money from was second to none. And a lot of that money that came from the park and the other things, the new CCTV cameras, was just... But yeah, we've lost that, which is massive.
Yeah. Because it gave a huge benefit to the village.
Yeah.
So there is going to be a by-election to fill the vacancy of those 2 councillors.
10 electors request.
Yeah, so it will be held by the 27th of January, so it's like 13 days' time, isn't it? 10 electors for the parish to give notice in writing to Chief Executive of the East Riding of Yorkshire Council. If no such notice, then obviously the parish council will fill by co-opting, which is a well-known legal term for parish councils to co-opt members of the parish. Is that on? Has that gone into Driffield Times, or was it just your
It'll
job?
be in this week.
Right.
It should be in,
Or Wolf Weekly, shall I
it
say.
should be in the paper. It's on the notice board on the website.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
With a bit of a brain fart.
So Driffield Wolds Weekly, obviously everybody here will know, but it's also on our website as well, and notice board.
It will be.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
No, it's there.
Did you want to say anything yourself, Ron?
Well, we'll just, and if you do that for the benefit of the recording.
Yeah. So this is an email from my colleague Anne. Dear councillors, with this email I have to inform Nafton Parish that I will retire from my post as parish clerk. I will, if the council wishes, stay in position until my successor is appointed. And that's from my colleague Anne. And before I say anything further, is there anything you wish to say?
It was in, the vacancy was in last week's local paper. I've had 11 applicants. I would like volunteers, 3 volunteers to interview, to look at the applicants and to interview any that I think would be the 3 things would be appropriate to interview. Nigel, would you be willing to be one of the interviewers?
I would be, yeah, if everybody agrees.
Oliver, Alex, and
Yeah, I'm happy to do a shortlist interview.
right.
So just what we do.
Yeah,
Do
sorry.
we need to vote on
Yeah, I would need proposers for an interview panel of 3.
Could I ask when would the interviews be done?
I don't know, Heidi, because the closing date is today. I'll have a look at them, then I'll message round. I don't know when it will be until we've had a look at them, and we can't do anything until we've had a look at them all, can we?
No.
Would it, I absolutely understand that, but my position is that, yes, it's an addition to this, but as I am moving out of the village, I will no longer be able to be on the parish council. So would it be before I would be having to tender my resignation, because I'd be happy to utilise, for the council to utilise my expertise in employing and interviewing with that, but if it could be before I leave the village, then...
If you're volunteering to take work off people, you're more than welcome.
Well, I just think I've done it for many years in business.
It will be as
so
soon as we can possibly get it. After midnight tonight, as soon as possibly we can get it sorted.
Okay.
So, can I have a proposer then for the interview panel?
Heidi.
Just Heidi.
No.
Alex.
Yeah.
Right.
Get a panel.
So, a proposer for those, for the councillors. Steve, Margaret says, all in favour?
Yeah.
Can I just take this opportunity? I mean, I think Councillor Owen was probably on the parish council when Anne started 25 years ago. I know my wife was on it 20 odd years ago with Anne as well, and you've seen a lot of coming and goings. You've seen us through a lot of difficult times and happy times, and you've seen the village grow. And where we sit today wasn't in existence 25 years ago. So I'd like to think I've been in these parts for 40 years. The village has something for everybody, and you've been a part of that for 25 years. So thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I
Thank
add
you.
to that as an East Riding councillor as well, to say, you know, we're 21 parishes in our patch, and Anne is probably outstanding at the top of that list in, you know, the service she's given to a parish
Thank you.
in that time. She's been consistent, she's been brilliant to deal with as an East Riding councillor over the years, and she'll be sorely missed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Here.
Talking about moving,
Just-
talking
Just
about,
as one of the parishioners, I haven't been in the village very long, only about 3 years, but I've known Anne for all of those 3 years. And I would like to think that everybody here tonight, as parishioners in Nafferton, would be very, very grateful for what this lady has done for us for the last 25 years.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When Councillor Fraser and Councillor Sheila Cook interviewed me for the job, they said, at the end of your tenure, you will still be discussing speeding, potholes, and dog poo. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you for your kind words.
Thank you. So village maintenance, Mr. Holmes?
Hampered by the cold weather, but a fair bit of gritting. Got a bit of hedge cutting to do, but I can't deal with that because of the birth through, because I can't take it back home and burn it. So that'll have to be on hold until my birds have gone and things have settled down a bit. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, I witnessed you gritting at the bus stop the other day, so thanks for that, out early in the
I
morning.
got your boots, so.
Yeah, I did, yeah. So that's great. Anything else on village maintenance at all? So, defibrillator guardian.
Can I speak about this? This is a message from Caroline. She is the defibrillator guardian, and at the moment she's the only defibrillator guardian. I believe we have defibrillator at Lavender Court, one
Correct.
here,
One
one
at
at
school,
school.
yeah.
Is it just the three?
Yeah. 3, yeah.
She would like a volunteer as a parish councillor volunteer as a backup in case she's not available to do whatever she had to do to replace anything, to work in liaison with Caroline.
It's got to be Steve.
Yeah,
man.
Steve. Steve volunteered.
So we all know where they are, parishioners then. So Lavender Court, not far from the Cross Keys, obviously one here and one outside the school. Should we ever need them, let's hope we don't. But right, is that it? Right, so 21, 26, unless you've got anything else, thank you very much everybody. We'll conclude the meeting. Thank you.